This is your daily strategic dose by Kevin Mohler.
It's not hanging out with the people that you're most comfortable with that's going to lead to growth. Did you know that not many decades ago, it was very accustomed for individuals that had children to not let them hang out with other children? I know it may be like a shock to you, especially for those of you that actually have children. You may be saying like, "Well, what's the deal with that?" My kid loves to hang out with other kids and I want them to associate with other children. And I'm not telling you that that's wrong to do. I mean, my son, he just turned 3 years old and he hangs out with a bunch of other children and I want that to take place. I'm not saying don't do that, but what the point is to understand the model that came before you and I were acclimated to the ways of the world in which we live. Because depending on your age, most likely your parents had you hanging out with other children frequently. I definitely hung out with other children frequently, and my son hangs out with other children frequently. And I'm not telling you that that is wrong and you should never, ever, ever let them hang out with children, but get the point. The point is rewind 150 years, which actually, by the way, it wasn't that long. It was less than that. But let's just say 150 years ago. And if you're looking at society and culture of individuals all around the world, I'm not talking about the country in which you live in, I'm talking globally. What they would do with a child, particularly back then, a young boy, they would forbid them from hanging out with other children. Why? Because children were considered foolish. Now, that's not because your child is anything other than what your child is, which is an amazing human being, an amazing individual, amazing spirit that's going to go on to do great things. It's because that we hang around people. When we hang around them, we become like them. And children hanging out with other children become more like those other children that they associate with and that they hang out with. Why? Because it's the law of association. We know that the individual, the adult, you, me, we are the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And children were considered foolish. Why? Because they all are. Every single child that is born does not have any wisdom. They don't have any right or wrong. They don't have any sense of how they should be and how they should act. In fact, I'll give you a real example. One of the individuals that pours into my son, who's an amazing individual, she's a nurse. So she has a master's degree. Her husband is an engineer. He's brilliant. He blows my mind every time we hang out. Very wise, very successful household. And they watch him every week, one day a week. And they have a daughter that's slightly younger than my son. And they are best friends. And it's an amazing, amazing relationship. But I will tell you that the only time that they say my son has acted out in a way that is incongruent with who they know him to be is when he has hung out with other children outside of their home, outside of his normal environment. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? The only time that they say that he acts out in behaviors that are abnormal to him is when he has associated with other children. Very interesting. And very interesting in the fact that over 100 years ago, the average child was not hanging out with other children. They were actually hanging out with adults. Why? Because they were being discipled. They were being taught. They were learning wisdom from people older and wiser and more experienced than themselves. Always. Always. This was a cultural thing not very long ago. They always hung out with people further, farther, wiser, more experienced than themselves. And I bring that up to you now. Why? Because it is not just important with children, it's important for you and for me. When we look left and we look right, We look to the average individuals. We look to the people that we associate with. We look to the people that we hang around with, and we judge ourselves according to those people. It is an easy way to live a lackadaisical, relaxed, compliant life around people whose lives we don't want our own to even look like. Like, we don't want to be average, right? If you're listening to this, you're probably part of our private community. If you're not, I don't know what you're doing, because you're definitely invited to hang out with us in our private community. But here's the deal. We don't want an average life. We don't want an average existence. We don't want average outcomes. We don't want next year to look identical to last year. I mean, here we are in November. We're looking forward to the end of the year, which means we're looking forward to the beginning of a brand new year. We want new things to come into our existence. Do you not want to grow your wealth, grow your health, grow your finances, grow your relationship with your spouse, relationship with your children, relationship with other people, your contribution to society? If you want to grow, you cannot hang around and associate with people who make you comfortable. Most of us hang out with people that make us comfortable. And I'm telling you right now, if you want a cheat code to life, and I'm not telling you there's a cheat code to life, but if there was one, it would be to hang around people who are further, farther, wiser, more experienced than yourself. That's the reason why we intentionally build a community of individuals who are pushing life to the edges. Because if you are not living life on the edge, you are taking up too much space. So that's all I got for you today. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
This is your daily strategic dose by Kevin Moore.